We are on the throes of another election in 2027. You, I think, know what happened to your predecessors, Kibuitu, Chesoni, Chebukati. What are the experiences which you have learned from those past elections, which put you in a good state to lead this particular commission so that we can have a free and fair election, taking into account the fact, one, that Kenya's elections are said to be the most expensive. Two, we are very divisive, specifically on tribal grounds. Taking into account the two, you saw the split TV screen in August 2022. And three, the alleged bias, which is alleged that you have very, very close relations with Governor Nanok, which will actually interfere with your independence and your team building skills. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dawood Mohammed, Member of Parliament for Wajir East.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is about harmony within the commission. My colleague has just referred to a split screen. I think that is a famous Chebukati 3 and the Cherera 4. My question is, what, as if we confirm, are we confirming, or if we vet you and approve you to be the chair of the commission, how will you ensure that this commission, this new commission that we are constituting now, will be speaking in one voice come election time 2027? Second, our elections are one of the most expensive, I think, either in Africa or even globally. So a man who has such a rich CV and who has told us that you've worked with, you have experience in the electoral processes and elections. How are you going to help this country, given our economic issues that we have now, to reduce the cost of elections to something manageable? And finally, Chair, I just want to ask one question. I think the senior counsel has alluded to it about suitability. It says that for one to be the chair of Iebc, you need at least 15 years. You need to have the qualification of a judge of the Supreme Court. I'm assuming that you will fall under 166. You'll tell me if that is different. 166, Article 166 3B, which says at least 15 years experience as a distinguished academic, judicial officer, or legal practitioner. You have given us your 22 years of experience, but I want to see that distinguished part. Distinguished legal scholar or distinguished academician. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Farah Mohammed Malim already asked his question. He's from Dadaab. Next is Honorable Mushira. Michael Mushira is from Ojorok.
Thank you, Chairman. I have only one question. From the statistics, out of the total registered voters we had in 2022, approximately 8 million did not turn out to vote out of the registered voters we had. Yeah. And then number two, out of the eligible, the people who are of legal voting age as at 2022, approximately 5.7 did not register as voters. I would want to know if you are approved by the House, what measures you would take to ensure that, number one, out of the numbers that is supposed to register, we achieve at least 98%. And then number two, out of the number that is eligible to vote, I know here maybe you may not have much control, we achieve at least 98% in terms of voter turnout. Thank you, Chair.
Very good. Honorable Zulekha, who is nominated.
Thank you, Chair. Before my question, I was just curious to know about the financial net worth of the nominee. Okay. Mr. Ethical, considering the recent past history of the Iebc, I wanted to know how you're going to regain the public trust. What specific reforms are you going to initiate once you are confirmed as the chairman of the institution? And what are some of the innovations in terms of technology, electoral credibility, transparency, are you going to champion as the chairman of the institution? Thank you.
Right, Honorable Mogaka. Honorable Mogaka is from his constituency is
West Mugirango
constituency in Nyamira. I was about to say Nyamira West, then I've remembered it's West Mugirango in Nyamira County. All right. Have you introduced yourself, sir? You have.
Yes, I
Thank
did.
you.
Yeah.
You may now choose your question.
Thank you, Chair. I have three small questions for the related for the nominee. And nominee, congratulations for this far you have come. But you told us about a lot of education you have acquired. Just tell Kenyans who financed this education and what interest did they have in you as a way of allaying fears that you are being trained to come and do this very thing that Kenyans are worried about. The second one is you described yourself as very rich in human rights training. Now, you are aware that electoral units in this country have been without representatives this far. Do you consider that a constitutional and human right violation for those electoral units? And if so, being an expert in human right violation, what have you done so far to appease these unrepresented electoral units as Kenya does its business as usual? Number two, if you assume this office as chair, what would you bring in by way of reparation for these electoral units that have not been represented as Kenya has been transacting its affairs normally? And then the last question is, you are aware that there is already election campaign going on even before Iebc is constituted. Do you think this is healthy for the country? And if you assumed the office of chair, what will you bring on board that would bring tranquility in the country for economic prosperity, so that we don't go from election results and immediately we kick off to election campaigns? And for record, Chair, Nyamira County has 2 wards which have no MCAs, Nyamaya Ward and Nyansiongo Ward. Because as you are aware, I can't transact in this committee without mentioning Nyamira County.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mugaka. I think that is extremely patriotic. But you've rightly said there are 2 wards which do not have MCS, and that is the first and foremost assignment for the chairperson, nominated chairperson, if this committee finds favor to approve his nomination. The vice chairman has joined us as we were proceeding. He'll introduce himself and pose his question.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and my apologies to you, my colleague members, and everyone. I was held up in other national duties. That's why I walked in slightly after the session had started. My name is Mwengi Mutusa. I'm the Member of Parliament for Kibwezi West, and I also serve as Vice Chair of this committee. Nominee for Chairperson of Iebc, a very important position in the Republic of Kenya. I have 2 questions for you. Number one of what we have been told previously, that one of the reasons why our elections are very expensive, among the most expensive in the world, is because of trust deficit. The political operators, us in the political class, and even citizens do not trust each other. And so, because it is also alleged that you may be of a particular political inclination, assuming that this committee approves you and finally you become the Iebc chair, what are you going to do to bridge that trust deficit so that we may begin to see Kenyans trusting the electoral process? You are aware, for example, in a country like the United States, the ballots will be sent online. They do not have to have 100 security features. People will vote. They will post them online. They will also post them through the post office, and they will be counted, and nobody will say there's a problem. But in our case, we can't even trust to print our ballot papers in our printing presses here. We have to take them to faraway countries. We have to send people to go and supervise printing, bring them here. One ballot paper has to have over 10 security features. What is it that you are going to do, given the background that has been alleged about you, to bridge that trust deficit? And number 2, a practical question. Every other election, there has been contestations about rigging of elections, especially presidential elections. And majorly, that has been attributed to technology. People will say, well, we voted this way, but what was relayed to the National Tallying Center is different from what was on the ground. I have my views about it, but I would want you to tell Kenyans, do you believe that elections in Kenya are rigged? If you believe that they are rigged, what are you going to do to ensure that they are not rigged? If they are not rigged, why do you think they are not rigged? Finally, principally, you are trained as a lawyer, principally. I would want to know why it was important for you to study project management and peace and conflict, because as a lawyer, and many lawyers are very proud of their profession, many of them stick to legal issues. So one would be curious to just understand why you found it necessary to veer and study other questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Thank you, honorable members. I counted the questions in spite of them having been told to ask for one. They did about 2, others did about 3, maximum at 20, all of them. We have 20 minutes within which to answer the 20 questions. So please be concise, precise. You do not have to repeat yourself, and where you can condense answers in respect of 3 questions into 1, please do so. 20 minutes to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable members of this committee. Allow me to really sincerely thank you for those very important questions, questions that are vexing to all of us and to Kenyans, and questions that beg answers from me as the chair nominee, but also to some extent answers from all of us as Kenyan citizens. In regard to the first set of questions from the Honorable Chair regarding what I bring to the table that will inspire confidence and ensure that Kenyans enjoy that right to elect their leaders in a free, fair, verifiable and credible elections. I think, Honorable Chair and members, these are questions that even I, since I was nominated as chair, have been asked by fellow citizens outside there. In fact, last night I was at a barber shop and the barber asked me, Chair, do you think we will ever have free and fair elections in Africa? Not Kenya alone. But I knew, of course, where it was going. So to answer your question, Honorable Chair and members, I think I took this role knowing very well that there's a lot that is expected from us. There's a lot of issues that Kenyans are worried about. The issues, of course, of guaranteeing them free and fair election as per the Constitution. The issues of credibility, the issues of trust. And for me, I think if we address the issue of elections, we must, as Kenyans, begin by trusting in ourselves, because trust begins with us. When we trust ourselves, then we begin to look at what are the legal frameworks that are there to help us, for example, navigate through issues of governance in this country. That is when we begin to look at the Constitution and trust it. Does our Constitution serve us? Does it work? What does it say? The institutions that have been created by that Constitution to manage our elections, including our electoral management body, the Iebc, and others that are supposed to support that electoral management process. Do we trust in those institutions? Do we trust in the people that have been given the responsibility and the public trust to manage those institutions? Do we trust the laws that have been passed by this honorable house, by our parliament, and the regulations that govern the electoral processes? So when, honorable chair and members, when we as Kenyans begin to ask those questions, I think we'll be heading in the right direction, such that then those of us who are lucky, those of us who have come out courageously, and it must be really courageous, because when I applied for this job, I was told this is the hot seat, I don't even go there, we don't know whether to congratulate you or to, you know, all sorts of things. So those of us who have come out who have stepped out to provide leadership in our electoral management body and processes, we begin then to tell Kenyans, we will play our role as Iebc, I will play my role as chairperson, in the sense that I will be guided by the Constitution of Kenya and the laws of Kenya, and that through that fidelity to the law, I should be able to follow all the laid down processes that will lead us to credible, free, fair, verifiable elections. So my point is, Honorable Chair, is that we have to begin by trusting in ourselves. Number two, trusting that our constitution works, that our laws governing our elections work and we can be implemented, and that we will comply with these laws, and that then the institutions created to manage our elections are given an opportunity and that benefit of doubt to be able to work and to deliver results. Of course, there have been challenges in terms of sometimes negative perceptions. There have been, of course, challenges in terms of actual incidences of electoral malpractices. But even as we have those challenges, we still, as a country and as citizens of this country, have to seek refuge in our constitution and in our laws, so that then even those who perpetuate electoral malpractices, we should deal with them knowing that there are laws that govern electoral offenses, and that these laws will be implemented, and those people who perpetuate electoral malpractices can be held to account. So for me, I will rely more on my faith and my trust in our constitution and our laws and our institutions that we have set, that we the people have given unto ourselves under Article 1 of the Constitution, under which article the people have donated that power to us. Number two, in relation to my nomination, Honorable Chair, I wouldn't really want to dwell much on that, because, Honorable Chair, I think most Kenyans, from the day the advert was put out there, from the day the first advert was put, and then it was cancelled to allow room for further consultations, and that resulted to the NADCO process and the outcome of the NADCO process, and subsequent advertisement for this position, and inviting those of us who are interested and who felt like we had something to offer. We were invited in an open process. We submitted our applications, and I recall very well, Honorable Chair, for the record, at first I was reluctant even to apply for this job, given the negativity and all these things around this position. But at the cyber cafe, where I normally photocopy my things and my papers, even for my work in South Africa, the young people in that cyber cafe, Peter, Purity, and Kizito, they are the people who urged me to put in my application, because looking at my documents and having conversations with me over tea, they thought and they felt that you have what it takes to lead this country in this institution. And at first I thought maybe I should just apply for the commission and, you know, the hot seat, leave it alone. But they actually went and submitted the documents both for the chair and for member. So when I was in South Africa, they sent me a screenshot. We've submitted the documents. And later on, when I was on my way to, I think, Angola or something, I saw my name in the newspapers that I've been shortlisted. I honored the...
No, so it is not you who applied?
I submitted the documents. I signed.
I think that's very important.
Yes.
Are you saying you did not submit your own application for this position?
Right. Kisito, the one who photocopies for me. So I bound everything, and I asked them to submit once everything was in order.
So they submitted the documents for you?
They just submitted the documents.
You had applied yourself, you had signed the documents, etc.
Yes.
So let's carry on.
Actually, I have a copy of my application.
No problem.
With the documents.
Okay.
So
let's move on to the process. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, basically all these conspiracy theories around maybe being pushed around by certain interest groups to apply. I just wanted, for the record, for Kenyans to know that ordinary Kenyans are equally concerned, and they felt maybe they can add me to apply. So I went through interviews. They were televised. I gave my account for why I should be considered for this position, and I think the rest of the process proceeded as per the law that governs recommendation, nomination, and approval. And that's why I am here, Honorable Chair. So I would like to raise that matter at that point, and then to proceed to answer other questions, including the warning that 2027 might be a bloodshed if and when we as IEBC mess around with the people's votes. I think, Honorable Chair, this is a very uncomfortable discussion, but also very necessary, because those of us who have been in this country long enough, we know what we have gone through from 1992. At least that one I can recall. I'm sure most of you were there, maybe 1988, and participated in these processes. We've had a pattern where every election has had some incidences of violence. And of course, in 2007, we completely lapsed into a crisis of such big proportion and magnitude that a repeat of such a scenario would not be something that we would wish for this country. So as IEBC, we will work very hard with other stakeholders, including the security agencies. We would work with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. We will work with partners in civil society, the media, to ensure that as we move towards this 2027, that we will put in place measures to prevent electoral-related violence. And Honorable Chair, during my tenure and my work at UNDP, most of the work that I did was around the recovery from the 2007 post-election and working with national government institutions, including the IEBC, for programs that ensured that we had the 2010 referendum that went peaceful, the 2012-2013 campaigns and subsequent elections went successfully. And there are those specific measures that we put in place that, given this opportunity, I'll be able to bring to the IEBC and to the nation, so that then we work on electoral violence prevention. We can have a robust program on that.
Just before you go on, Honorable Karemba, you had some rider to put to that very fast?
I am not satisfied by how you have settled the question that I asked, because I feel that he is now answering. You know,
It has not come to you as yet.
Oh, okay.
This is still the
Those are for three from me.
Okay.
Apart from, you've talked about putting into place systems to prevent post-election violence. Will you also put in place systems to prevent election malpractices? Because we start with the malpractices first, then we go to the violence, so that we actually ensure that we have a free, fair, credible, justifiable election, such that nobody can challenge it. And if there is to be a challenge, should it be through violence, or how do we challenge? Because every person has a right to challenge election results. With written violence, or how do we challenge when there is grievances regarding an election?
Okay, thank you.
Ogata, Raida? Okay.
Raida, yes, on that. One, he mentioned of having been pushed by even Babas to apply. Has he fully disclosed who others pushed him to apply? Number two, he has again mentioned that he lives in Joburg. Can the nominee assure Kenyans that if he assumes his position, he will not banco an election and take his comfort in Joburg, because Kenyans have no other place to go? Thank you.
Chairman, mine is just as a point of order. Chairman, you gave the nominee 20 minutes to answer. Only on your questions, we are now, I think we've taken 9 minutes.
Let's be faster. I'll make sure it's faster than that. First and foremost, quickly in one sentence each, defray the fears we have, then we move on to the questions substantive that were asked. They are not as elaborate as you're making it.
Yeah, okay.
You're just being a little bit prolonging
Okay.
I don't want to use that other one we use in law. Let's suggest prolonging. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think what I need to assure the committee and the nation at large is that once confirmed as chair, and I take that oath of office, the moment I take that oath of office, I will know I have crossed just from being a mere citizen, enjoying rights in this country, but I will immediately become a duty bearer as the chairperson of the IEBC. And as a duty bearer, it's my responsibility to ensure that this country has free, fair, transparent, credible, but more importantly, peaceful elections. And through that, I know, Chair, our election is highly regulated. From the constitutional provisions to the legislative provisions to regulations, there is an elaborate process through which we conduct our elections. And as the new chair and commission, we will ensure that internally we put our house in order. That if there are any challenges that the post-election evaluation report identifies, if there are any challenges that our partners and stakeholders, for example, through the political parties liaison committee, if there are those challenges that they identify, it's our responsibility as duty bearers to put in place measures to rectify those so that then we perfect our system. Chair, also, in terms of those incidences of malpractices that sometimes make the system appear not to be working, I think Kenyans, I would ask us to trust that in this new IEBC, when we identify cases of malpractices, we should be able to punish those. We should be able to take action in terms of working with the relevant government institutions to investigate and bring those perpetrators to book. So, Chair, I think that is the much.
Will you run away to South Africa if you baggle the election and you leave us fighting one another?
Chair, this is my country and I love it very much. That is why I came back and that is why I want to continue serving it in this.
Why are you working in South Africa?
I'm working currently with African Union, which you know we are member state, and we're also doing things to actually, for example, the programs that we're doing is to support countries emerging from crisis and conflicts and that are going through governance transitions like Gabon and Mozambique and stuff like that. So it's equally important work.
You manage in South Africa itself, which seems to have its own peculiar problems with races.
Yes, of course, there are challenges of governance there as well. But for me, when if called upon to serve my country, this is my priority, and it will be my pride.
Thank you very much. In the remaining 10 minutes, please take the other questions very fast. They were precise.
It's a very important question.
Yeah, but for purposes of that that transparency of the electoral process itself, how much are you willing to spend or rather commit yourselves into technology? Because a country like India with 800 million voters, by 5:36 you already know the results. It's nothing, it's you can get that all over. You can buy those packages of that technology and it's the cheapest thing when you compare it to the kind of cost we have in Kenya. But that way you can even be looking at the screen and seeing how well a party or an individual or a candidate is doing. How much are you willing to invest in that technology for purposes of that?
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Farah. I think technology, our elections have come of age. From the Mulolongo to the secret ballot to the manual and now to the integration between manual and electronic. What we can do is to take it even higher, to look at what are the emerging technologies, to look at what is out there. So my role as the leader of that commission is to sit down with the experts to understand what is new. I've seen even some young Kenyans circulating some apps that they have come up with a system where you can do electronic election monitoring from your phone. So we need to bring all these actors together, our young, vibrant youth, the tech companies, and of course working under the guidance of this parliament to be able to see how can we up our game what is new? How can we improve things from 2022 to 2027?
Question number 2.
Yes,
Father.
It's a very important question, Honorable Chair, from my learned senior, Honorable Otiende Amolo, MP for Arieda, and I think, and Honorable Daud, regarding my suitability. I would like to, when we finish law school, for those of us who went to law school, you finish your first degree. Normally, you can choose to go to the Kenya School of Law and to pursue a career.
Law school is which one?
To the Kenya School of Law.
Which is law school in Kenya? The School of Law or the university you go to?
Finish the university,
yes.
You go to the Kenya School of Law under the Council for Legal Education. And then once you're admitted as an advocate, you can decide to go to court and be a practicing lawyer advocate in court, or you can decide to pursue your career in academics. And so for me, when I finished my law school and I got admitted, I'd worked already for 1 year in a law firm. And then I worked, as I mentioned to you, in Parliament. And part of our work, which I was responsible for, was to do research into policies and legislations from when Kenya became independent. So we compiled that, what you call parliamentary policy and legislative briefs. So that's work I did for roughly 2 years. After that, I worked at the National Commission on Human Rights, doing legal work. My work was legislative drafting, research, policy, and a very important role that I think maybe most people did not appreciate in this country was that my role was to look at legislative proposals. And from the AG, before they go to Parliament, my role was to infuse international human rights standards into our legislation. So I did that work for 3 years, and honorable members, when I proceeded to join the United Nations, the work of the United Nations, as I've said, is to serve and to work for national government institutions with them. And my specific role was also centered on providing leadership at the Kenya.
As a point of order, because the nominee is answering my question, I'd like the nominee, you have a copy of the Constitution, to open Article 166, 3B. So that please answer that question with reference to that section very shortly.
Justifying your great academic achievements.
Honorable Chair,
are you qualified to be the chairperson?
Yes, Honorable Chair, because I have spent over 15 years doing legal work, mainly in the field of human rights. And last year, Honorable Chair, for the record, I was actually shortlisted and I did interviews for the High Court judge, for which I was not successful, but that's when I continued.
The requirement is not spending 15 years doing some work. What exactly is the requirement? For you to be chairman, you must be? What does the law require you to be?
Article 166. 3B.
The first with what is your requirement after the constitutional provision where we have Iebc 88? The chairperson must be. After that, tell us whether you're qualified under the two provisions, 88 and 166.
Chair and members, I am qualified because I'm a legal practitioner in the field of human rights and human rights law, with specialization in international human rights.
Does 88 say a person qualifies to be chairperson if you're qualified to be a judge of the Supreme Court? I don't know, to be a judge of the Supreme Court. Correct?
Chair, he has Article 166.
Yes,
look at
so from there, go to Article 166, who is a judge of the Supreme Court, so that you can tie the two together and say, I'm qualified because Supreme Court, judge, Supreme Court requires. It's over.
Chair, I think in terms of Article 1663, it talks about at least 15 years experience as a Superior Court judge, which I have not been a Superior Court judge. At least 15 years experience as a distinguished academic, judicial, legal practitioner, or such experience in other relevant legal field. And I think that's where I fall to Honorable Chair.
That's where you fall. You don't. Do you think, or you actually confirm?
I'm saying I confirm. That's where I fall.
Thank you. All right. Let's move to the next. We have to move on. See,
Which is that relevant field?
in the relevant field. Which is the relevant field now here?
International human rights law.
National human rights.
Yes.
Right. The field isn't, it doesn't have to apply, it's a relevant field, like I'm a litigation lawyer, that's the field I specialize in. Okay, let's move on to the next question from Karemba, quickly.
In terms of the question from the Honorable Karemba, he has raised the issues of my close relationship with Honorable Nanok, was our former governor. Honorable Karemba and honorable members of this committee, I've known Honorable Nanok when I worked with him as the county attorney for Turkana while he was serving as the governor. And I worked with him for 4 years, and our relationship was purely professional in serving the people of Turkana in our various capacities, him as governor and myself as the county attorney. And our relationship, a professional relationship, ended in 2022 after he left. And then I continued serving under Honorable Jeremiah Lomorkai, the current governor for Turkana, for another 2 years, bringing a total of my service in Turkana to 6 years, and I left. And Honorable Chair, with your permission, allow me to assure this committee that whatever the relationships, whether familial or friendship or people you've gone to school with, which I'm sure some of them are in this house, some of my former bosses are also members of this parliament, some are in the civil society. No man is an island, no person is an island. But what our constitution tells us is that Iebc is an independent commission. Iebc must not be under the control or direction of anybody whatsoever, any person or authority. And that if I, as a chairman, once you confirm me, if I misbehave in the process, the provisions of Article 251 will check in. Any member of the public, any citizen of this country can petition this house, this parliament, to remove me for any gross misconduct, violation of the constitution, incompetence, or any other reason that is within the law. So I don't think the nation should worry about the many relationships we've had as we grow along our career paths or in our lives.
Are you related to Honorable Josephat Nanok? Are you related in any way? For filial,
for the record, Honorable Chairman,
marriage, etc.
For the record, Honorable Chairman, not even close, even at the level of clan, let alone family. And we come from totally different villages, even clan-wise. If you look at it, we are very, very far apart. We have no any relationship, whether by marriage or extended family or anything like that.
Thank you very much. Honorable Makali's question.
Chairman, as is looking that, I had asked the very important question that the nominee must disabuse the allegation contained in Dr. Magenyi's affidavit that he would be biased in favor of His Excellency Dr. William Ruto.
Honorable Chair, with your permission, I have actually, Honorable Lanet Senior, I have actually sworn an affidavit to actually state my position in regard to that and to affirm that I shall be guided by the law, I shall be impartial, I shall be fair, and no office, whether small or big in this land, shall influence me, my decisions or my running of the commission, and that I shall rely on the constitution and the laws of Kenya. So therefore,
they are asking you whether you will be courageous to announce results. That's what they're saying, that you will not be.
Chair, I look at both, even the president of the way I see things, as I've said, the moment I take oath of office, should I be confirmed, I look at both potential, all those people will come up to offer themselves for the leadership of this country at the level of presidency. These are my clients. These are the people I serve. These are the people that we will work with to ensure that whoever Kenyans elect, they should be able to trust the process and the outcome.
Chair, with your permission, Mr. Etekon, I want you to answer that question specifically. Will you be biased in favor of William Ruto or not?
Absolutely, Honorable Chair and members, absolutely not.
Just answer the way he has asked. I will not be.
I shall not be. Thank you.
Chair, he has indicated that he will not be influenced by anybody. You said you were a bit reluctant to apply for this position. You were influenced by babas in some place. You are going photocopiers. Will you confirm to Kenyans that you have actually the spine to be in this office, which is a boiling room?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, through Honorable Chair. I think the context within which I brought that is to demonstrate to this House and Kenyans that ordinary Kenyans are concerned about the type of a person who should supervise the elections, who should facilitate their transparent, peaceful, credible, transparent elections. Which is why, looking at even the various people who are out there, they thought, I am untainted, I am qualified, and from our conversations, they felt I'm passionate enough to go for this position. And I would want to assure this House that those values that I bring and my commitment, that is what I bring to this House, and no office.
And the spine?
The spine
is really the courage.
And as the Honorable Farah did indicate that we are warriors. You know, when you look at the journey, some of us have survived, bandit attacks, even when coming to Nairobi for school, our villages have been overrun. We've gone through these traumatic experiences. So I don't think there's anything that can cow me. Whether you hold a gun on my head, as long as I do the right thing, what the law says, I shall do it.
Thank you. That's a commitment you're making to us. The question by Honorable Dawood, is there anything remaining that is not answered? Honorable Makali's question. It was on. Let's move on.
That Honorable Makali's question was in regard to past experiences.
Yes, that is absolutely covered. What was the other one? Anything else, Makali, that is not answered? Cost of election, which is very expensive.
Honorable members, I think the issue of cost of election, I think Honorable Vice Chair actually spoke to it a bit and explained even some of those factors that drive our cost. But for me, I look at our cost of election as an issue of trust, as the Vice Chair put it. When we don't trust ourselves, when we don't trust our institutions, when we don't trust our printers, when we don't trust our everything, then we resort to those measures out of fear that we need to print ballot boxes in grays and what have you. So for me, we need to build this trust, starting from us as individuals. And this should cascade across our Kenyan citizens to begin to give us ourselves a chance to do the right thing. And so that when we as a commission are giving practical proposals to lower the costs of our elections, then we should do. 17 was around 78. And then the subsequent election, we were looking at 64. So you see almost a 10 point. So I think we would need to, number one, address, of course, the issues of trust. Because the disillusionment of our young people particularly, when they don't see any value in participating in these processes, then we need to address that and to talk to our young people to come up and register and restore hope to them that it is a civic duty for them to, 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 you know, after the commission, once the commission is not in place, then even registration of voters stops. So once we are confirmed, God willing, we will hit the ground running to try and speed up that process of registering voters. And you know, there are many new voters now. The people who are born 2007, 2008, now they are reaching 18 years, and they are quite a substantial number. So we need to focus on our voter registration. In terms of voter turnout, again, the messaging from all of us, because as I've said, trust, confidence, it's a responsibility not only of the IEBC chair, but also of this parliament, the politicians who are aspiring, the media, and all that. So if we do positive messaging, people will feel encouraged to turn up in large numbers. And if we assure them that the election will be free, fair, transparent, credible, then I'm 100% there will be big improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. We had a question from Honorable Zuleka. No. Let's go on. No. Let's go on. Zulaya's question was on what? Zulaya? The other one is coming shortly after this. We have to finish. The second question was on? Zulaya? Can you remember? Yeah, the second question.
About, I think, technology and
Yeah, that's...
Use of technology.
Can I just
And
on
innovations.
that innovation and digital before the chair?
To answer for him, all right.
No. I just want to
Answer.
ask him something. I questioned about the issue of digital, the use of digital technology, or technology, for example, to make it easier for this thing to be, you know, fair, transparent, credible. We also have the issue of digital, which can be misused, which is the social media right now. Social media can become another center of serious disruption and conflict in the country. You probably cannot answer this now, but one needs to put a serious thought into these things if we have to do certain things about our laws or certain actions to be taken, so that some busybody somewhere cannot put this country under flame. So this is another thing I think to answer that very quickly, I think, Honorable Farah, you are referring to the issues we have to deal with misinformation and disinformation. And of course the use of new media to perpetuate that. I think that's one of the things that as a commission we will be alive to, and we will work with the various stakeholders and industry players to see how we can mitigate the negative impacts of that, while actually amplifying the positive aspects of that. And I think to go to Honorable Suleka's question about technology, I think the next election will largely be technology driven. Even if we don't adjust our laws to allow for final results in terms of our electronic transmission, but I think out there, in terms of mobilizing our young voters to vote, in terms of educating them on the voting processes, in terms of encouraging them to turn out, technology, for example, the chatbot and other apps will come into play. Instagram, TikTok, all these platforms. As a commission, or personally, in order to encourage our youth, we will work with the leaderships of the youth in this country to identify those opportunities in the digital space. Thank you.
Honorable Mogaka, is yours answered? Mogaka, we had a series of them.
The series of them.
I think they were all answered.
They have not been answered. I asked who funded his education and why.
Sorry, the first one was what?
Who funded his
who funded your education?
Education and why?
Very fast.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. My education at Starehe Boys Center was a free boarding space which was granted to needy boys by the late Dr. Geoffrey William Griffin. My education at the University of Nairobi was funded by the government of Kenya, for which I've paid the HELB loan, which I have the certificate here. My education in Master of Arts, Peace, Conflict and Development Studies was a scholarship placed by the government of Valencia. My Master of Science in Projects Management was funded by UNDP. as part of capacity building.
Capacity building
There's an
and
education assistance program for staff where you pay 50%, the organization pays 50%.
No problem.
Then the last one, I finance it myself through my salary.
Good enough and equipped. All right, the second question.
The second question was
question.
with his human rights experience, whether unrepresented units amount to a violation of human rights, what he has done with his knowledge in respect of those, and what he would do if he became chair.
You even mentioned about reparations.
Yes.
And you worried whether there is an answer to that one, but tell us very quickly. I don't think the answer is complicated.
Yes, I think it's very unfortunate that with
Specific reference to Nyasiongo in Nyamira.
It's very unfortunate that our citizens of Nyasiongo in Nyamira have had to endure this unfortunate situation where they have had their representatives, and indeed there are many other constituencies and wards, and that is again, Chair, because there was no Iebc in place, and yet the law says the commissioners must be there to conduct these elections. And you can see, I don't know whether to explain it, but again, the issue of trust and the processes of establishing the Iebc and putting it in place so that it can run the calendar. Thank you.
All right, I think
About ongoing election campaigns.
yes.
Is that
I don't know whether there is any ongoing election campaigns or is sensitization, or it is people expressing their freedoms to associate, assemble, and everything. I don't know what your channel is.
Article 38 of our Constitution gives us our political freedoms, but also there are also those rights, including the rights of association, freedom of speech, and all that. So, I mean, and Kenya is such a vibrant society, and I thank God for that. We should be proud as Kenyans that we have a constitution that gives us these rights. I have visited some countries, and the moment you land there, you can see gloom and what people are not engaged in this conversation even about their governance and leadership and their future. Thank you.
As in closing, I know you're but I've just seen the replying affidavit, and there's a question that arises from paragraph 3. The nominee, Mr. Tekon, you say you have never been a member of a political party. Is that what you are telling this committee? And as you are closing, I still asked your Luo and Spanish connections.
I will deal with the Luo and Spanish connection, number one. Number two is, yes, he says he's not been a member of a political party. Is it true? But we've never belonged to a
Honorable
political party.
Chair, for the record, I've not been any member, a member of any political parties, and I have a clearance certificate to that effect.
That one is talking about as we speak today.
Yes.
But in when you joined Honorable Nanok, were you not a member of his party?
That time, I remember when I joined Honorable Nanok, I was never in the political
So you've
space.
never registered with any political party in the country ever since?
Not that I know, but I know I have never taken that conscious step
You've not to register.
But I hear
Maybe you are registered.
Yes, I hear some
in this country we know we belong to different parties which you didn't register yourself. Okay. Are elections rigged in the country?
The chair also, as he does that, on the lessons learned and what he brings on board. That's what I had asked him also.
I think, Honorable Chair, the elections in Kenya, I think over time that there's been a lot of improvement in the way we manage our elections. Let's give credit where it's due. But we cannot also deny the fact that there have been challenges here and there, including some incidences where there have been electoral malpractices, including rigging of elections in some stations. But having said that, I still trust that our electoral system and laws that allow us from the polling station to protect our votes, that allow us to transmit our votes safely, I think they will work. And it's my role to enforce as the new chair. It's my role to work with the various stakeholders to ensure that we do the right thing within the commission, but also working with other stakeholders, including the investigative agencies, to address some of those complaints.
Honorable Makali is asking, what are you bringing to the table? Different from Honorable Chebukati and Kivuitu, Chesoni, all the way to Montgomery.
I think I bring to the table my passion and commitment to this country to consolidate and entrench the democracy that we need for stability, for economic development, and for prosperity of this country. And I have all the necessary tools, whether in law, in conflict resolution, in managing election as a project. I bring those multiple tools and skills to the table. I also bring my experience and networks having worked with the international community, civil society. These are people I can work with together to support us to succeed as a country.
Right, thank you very much. Now, these are very routine questions which you have